I stared at the mirror, my face twisted in disbelief. The skin that stared back wasn't mine. It was youthful, delicate, the face of a woman. And yet somewhere beneath those bright eyes and full lips, I knew it was still me. How could I explain what happened? How could I even begin to make sense of it myself? Let me start at the beginning. I'm an old man, 65 years of life, most of it unremarkable. I had a wife once, but she passed away years ago. No children, no family left to speak of, and the friends I once had have long since drifted or passed away. These days it's just me and my house, an old Victorian relic perched on the outskirts of town, filled with more memories than I care to relive. I've always been a solitary man. Maybe that's why, when the antique shop appeared in town, tucked away in a narrow alley I don't remember ever seeing before, I was drawn to it. The sign above the door read Curiosities and Relics in faded gold lettering, and I felt an odd pull, like it was calling me in. The moment I stepped inside, I knew something wasn't right. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of dust and age. Shelves crowded with strange objects filled every corner. Porcelain dolls, rusted locks, faded paintings. And the center of it all, behind the counter, sat an old woman. Her eyes were impossibly sharp despite her age, and they followed me with an unsettling intensity as I wandered through the shop. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. A mirror, oval-shaped, framed in tarnished silver. It hung from the back wall, half hidden behind stacks of odd trinkets. There was something about it, something familiar, as if I'd seen it before in a dream. "Ah, that one," the old woman said, her voice low and gravelly like she hadn't spoken in years. "That mirror's not for everyone, you know." I turned to her, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She smiled, revealing a mouthful of yellowed teeth. "It shows you things about yourself. Some people don't like what they see." I snorted. "I've lived a long life. I've seen all I care to see." Her smile widened. "Oh, have you now? Be careful what you wish for, old man. Sometimes the past isn't as far away as you think." I bought the mirror, ignoring the way her eyes seemed to bore into my soul as I handed over the money. I told myself it was just an impulse purchase, a whimsical desire to fill the empty corners of my house. But deep down I knew there was something more to it. I didn't hang it immediately. I placed it in my study, propped it up against the wall, and tried to forget about it. But over the next few days, I felt it drawing me in. Every time I walked past the door to my study, I caught myself glancing at it, half expecting, I don't know, something. One night, after a glass too many of good scotch, I found myself standing in front of it, staring at my reflection. My face was tired, lines etched deep into my skin, my hair thin and gray. I looked old, older than I felt. I ran a hand through my beard, sighed, and turned away. That's when it happened. There was a ripple, like a stone thrown into a pond. I turned back to the mirror, my heart hammering in my chest. My reflection, it wasn't mine anymore. The face staring back at me was young, beautiful even. A woman in her 20s with soft, unlined skin and dark flowing hair. Her eyes were wide, filled with confusion and terror. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. This couldn't be real. I had to be drunk or hallucinating. But when I raised my hand to touch my face, the smooth, soft skin I felt wasn't mine. It was hers. Panic surged through me. I spun away from the mirror, rushing to the nearest surface that reflected an old dusty window, and there she was again, staring back at me. No matter where I looked, she was there. This young woman. Me. Days passed, and I tried everything I could to break this curse. Because it was a curse. What else could it be? I smashed the mirror, but the change remained. I tore through my house, destroying anything reflective, but every surface, even the gleam of a polished doorknob, showed her face. The worst part, it wasn't just my reflection. My body had changed too. My joints no longer ached, my vision was sharp, and my hands, slender and smooth, not the gnarled, calloused things they once were, trembled in disbelief. I was trapped in this woman's form, unable to understand how or why. I tried going back to the antique shop, hoping the old woman could help me, but the alley where it had been was gone. No sign of the shop, no trace of her. It was as if it had never existed. As the days turned to weeks, I realized I was stuck. There was no reversing it. I was no longer the man I had been for 65 years. I was her. And as much as I fought it, as much as I tried to cling to the remnants of who I was, I could feel myself slipping. The thoughts, the memories, they were becoming hers too. At first it was subtle. I would remember something from my past only to question if it had really happened to me, or I'd catch myself thinking in ways that didn't feel like my own. Feminine thoughts, feminine feelings bubbling up from deep within me, as if her soul was trying to merge with mine. And then came the dreams. I dreamed of her life. I dreamed of moments that I knew weren't mine, sitting in a park as a child, laughing with friends, crying over a broken heart. Her emotions were vivid and real. When I woke, I could still feel them lingering, like ghosts haunting the edges of my mind. It wasn't just dreams, though. Memories flooded in at random times, flashes of her life intruding into my own. I began to know things about her. Her name, her favorite color, the smell of the perfume she used to wear. Her name was Marie, and she had lived a life that was now tangled irrevocably with mine. Sometimes in the dead of night, I would stand in front of the mirror, one of the few I hadn't destroyed, and speak to her, trying to reach some part of the woman whose body I now seemed to inhabit. "Marie," I'd whisper, "why me? Why are you here?" But she never answered. The only voice I ever heard was my own. Months passed, and I adjusted to my new form as best I could. I wore loose clothing, avoided public places, and let my hair grow long. The body felt foreign and alien, but there was no denying its youth. I was a young woman now, whether I liked it or not. I tried to live a normal life, or as normal as one can under such circumstances. I ventured out only when necessary, always keeping my head down, always avoiding eye contact, but people noticed. Of course they did. How could they not? "Excuse me, miss." Those words, the ones I dreaded most, came one afternoon at the grocery store. I froze, my heart racing as an older man approached me, smiling kindly. "Sorry to bother you, but I think you dropped this." He held out a wallet, my wallet, which had slipped from my purse. I took it from him with trembling hands, muttering a quiet thank you. He nodded and walked away, but the encounter left me shaken. I had been seen. I had been recognized as her, not the man I had been. It wasn't long before I noticed the stares. Men, mostly, their eyes lingering a little too long, their smiles a little too eager. It made my skin crawl. I wasn't used to this attention, this uncomfortable scrutiny. In my old life, I had been invisible, just another old man going about his business. But now I was something else, something desirable. I avoided people even more after that. I couldn't bear the way they looked at me, the way they treated me. It was too much, too strange. And then came the letters. One evening, I found a note slipped under my front door. No name or return address, just a single word. Marie. My hand shook as I unfolded it. The message was cryptic, but it sent chills down my spine. "I know who you are." I couldn't sleep that night. Someone knew. Someone out there understood what had happened to me. Or worse, they thought I was her. But how? Who could possibly know about the curse, about the mirror? Over the next few days, more letters came, each one more unsettling than the last. They were brief, taunting, filled with vague threats and cryptic warnings. Whoever was sending them seemed to know me, or rather, her. They spoke of things only Marie would know. Personal things, dark things. One letter stood out from the rest. It arrived in an envelope stained with something dark. Blood, maybe? And contained only a single sentence. "You can't escape who you are." That night I heard footsteps outside my house. I rushed to the window, peering through the curtains into the darkness. A figure stood at the edge of the yard, shrouded in shadows. I couldn't see their face, but I could feel their eyes on me, watching, waiting. I bolted the door, my heart pounding. Fear gnawed at me, a sickening dread that I couldn't shake. I knew they were coming for me. Whoever they were, they wanted Marie, and they wouldn't stop until they had her. In a moment of desperation, I smashed the last mirror in the house. Glass shattered across the floor, but it did nothing to break the curse. I was still her, still trapped in this body, this life that wasn't mine. The footsteps came closer. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, my hands trembling. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't a fighter. I had never been one. But as the doorknob rattled and the shadow loomed closer, I knew I had no choice. The door creaked open, and there, standing in the doorway, was the old woman from the shop. But she was different now. Her eyes gleamed with malice, her skin stretched tight over her bones like parchment. "You can't run from it," she whispered, stepping inside. "You are her now." I backed away, raising the knife, but she only smiled, that same twisted grin she had worn the day I bought the mirror. "Don't you see?" she said. "You've always been her. The mirror didn't change you. It revealed you." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all, but the truth was staring me in the face. I hadn't been cursed. I had been shown who I really was. The man I had been was just an illusion, a life lived in denial of my true self. Marie had always been a part of me, buried deep, waiting to be set free. As the old woman approached, I dropped the knife, my body trembling with the weight of the realization. There was no escape. There never had been. I was her. I had always been her. And now there was no going back.